Each day, crises increase people's suffering. United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees (UNHCR) reports the number of displaced people around the world reached 65 million by the end of 2015, and that's due to the wars, conflicts, and natural disasters. Consequently, finding a safe environment for children where they can live normally requires a lot of work from different bodies, such as governments, organizations, societies, communities, and families, especially in the area that affected by crisis or in unstable environments. That's because children in such environment are at risks of poverty, exploitation, trafficking, abuse, and so on, and mostly lacking of food, education, sanitation, and other types of services. In such case, children mostly suffer of physical and psychological problems. Case management is one mechanism that can help to protect children and improve their life conditions. This mechanism can be provided to different sectors such as protection, education, health, etc. This mechanism can be provided to adults as well. But in this video, I will focus only on child case management. Welcome, my name is Raid Amin. Today I am going to explain case management. So, what is case management? It is a way of organizing and carrying out work to address an individual child's needs in an appropriate, systematic, and timely manner through direct support and/or referrals, and in accordance with a project or program's objectives. Case management can be provided in emergency and in development settings to address a range of issues, including child protection concerns. Case management services can be provided as part of programs that address the needs of children with particular vulnerabilities or risks, such as separation or sexual exploitation, or may be provided as part of programs or services that address a broader range of child welfare and social protection concerns. Having case management procedures in place ensures quality, consistency, and coordination of services. Now let's move to some notes about case management. Note that case management is not a type of program or intervention. It is a service for identifying children's needs and coordinating services to meet those needs. It is not appropriate to be used in all circumstances. Case management is not a quick and easy fix solution. It needs well-trained staff, supported by appropriate supervision, and is often a medium to long-term work in progress. Now let's move to key points about case management. Case management should focus on the needs of an individual child and their family, ensuring that concerns are addressed systematically in consideration of the best interest of the child and building upon the child and family natural resilience. Case management should be provided in accordance with the established case management process, with each case through a series of steps, as shown later, involving children's meaningful participation and family empowerment throughout. Case management process involves the coordination of services and supports within an interlinked and referral system. Case management process requires systems for ensuring the accountability of case management agencies. Case management services are provided by one key worker referred to as a case worker or case manager, who is responsible for ensuring the decisions are taken in best interest of the child. Also, the case is managed in accordance with the established process, and also who takes responsibility for coordinating the actions of all actors. Now let's move to core steps in the case management process. Number 1, identification and registration. Number 2, assessment. 3, case planning. 4, implementing the case plan. 5, follow-up and review. And number 6, case closure. Now, by this diagram, let's see how this process works. As we said, number 1 is identification and registration. Then we will move to assessment. Then we will move to case planning. Then we will move to implementing the case plan. Then we will go to follow up and review. Here note that at any step of the case management, we can conduct a follow-up and review and decide to return to earlier step if the situation requires that. If the situation doesn't require that, we can go forward to case closure. Also here note that even if we close the case, we can reopen the case if the situation requires that. If not, we can close the case and not open it again. Now we are going to explain each step quickly. Step number 1, identification and registration. How we can identify a child who needs case management services. A child who needs case management services can be identified through a variety of pathways. For example, by child protection staff or staff of other sectors, or by community members. Sometimes the child and his or her family can present themselves to case management services directly. Please note that case management program should outline specific vulnerability criteria to help guide this identification process and raise awareness on these within a community. While registration process occurs when the child meets the vulnerability and or risk criteria, and also when both the child and the family give informed consent to accept case management services. Registration process also includes the initial collection of data on the child. Step number 2, assessment. It is the systematic evaluation of the situation of the child. This should consider the vulnerabilities, risks, and harm factors, and also the protective influences and strengths and resilience of a child and family, and all the factors. In emergencies, this may be a relatively quick and straightforward process concentrating on basic needs, for example, food and shelter, and that's where there is an immediate risk to the child. For example, the child is living with the person who abused or who conduct violence against him or her. In such case, immediate intervention will be prioritized before a comprehensive assessment and case plan is developed. In second stage, a comprehensive assessment will be conducted. In this stage, we will conduct an assessment to gain the holistic understanding of the child's situation. Number 3, case planning. A case plan lists the needs identified in the assessment and sets a strategy for addressing them through direct services provision, referrals, and/or community-based program. In complex cases, a multidisciplinary interagency case conference may be called to develop a case plan. It should be specific, measurable, time-bound. Case objectives are set at this time. It should ideally be reached prior to case closure. Case plans are fluid documents that can be revised at any time if the child's situation needs change. Number 4, implementing the case plan. It is the actions taken in order to realize the plan, including direct support and services and referrals to other agencies or service providers as appropriate. A caseworker or manager is responsible for coordinating all these services and document progress, and also ensuring case objectives are being met. Number 5, follow-up and review. Follow-up involves checking that a child and his or her family are receiving appropriate services and support. Also, it involves monitoring the child's situation and identifying any changes in a child or family's circumstances. It takes place throughout the case management process, whereas review is a reflection on how this implementation of the plan is progressing, whether the objectives outlined in the case plan are being met, whether the plan remains relevant, and how to make adjustments to the plan if necessary. The last step is case closure. Case closure is the point at which work with the child ends. This can be for a variety of reasons. For example, because the situation is resolved, or the case plan has been completed and the child no longer requires support, or when the organization is no longer working there. They can refer the case to another organization. Sometimes the child may change his location. In such case, the case should refer to another NGO. Also, the case can be closed if the child became 18 years old, unless there is a good reason to remain involved. Also, the case can be closed if the child dies. As we mentioned earlier, at any step of these 6 steps, we can return to earlier steps if the situation requires that. Managers and caseworkers should keep in mind that case management is not a linear process. These 6 steps are interlinked and may at some time trigger to return to an earlier stage or process. Managers and caseworkers should consistently be analyzing the situation of the child and his or her family, and use case management steps as flexible tools. Also, note that in some guideline books, they may add 1 or 2 more steps to these 6 steps. So you may see a program consists of 7 or 8 steps, but this program or this book consider case management as 6 steps and add those additional steps under these 6 steps. Now let's move to case management principles. Please note that these principles are very important when you work within case management program. Principle number 1, do no harm. This means ensuring that actions and interventions designed to support the child and doesn't expose the child and his or her family to further harm. In all case management steps, care must be taken to ensure that no harm comes to children and to their families. Care must be taken when collecting information, storing or sharing the information. Care must be taken to avoid creating conflict or problems between individuals, families, and communities. We should not collect unnecessary information, and information should not be delivered to wrong hands. This may put the child and his or her family in a risk or expose them to violence or expose them to revenge. Principle number 2, the best interests of the child. The best interest of the child encompass a child's physical and emotional safety, as well as the right to positive development. The best interests of the child should provide the basis for all decisions and actions taken. In which service providers interact with children and their families, and caseworkers and their supervisor must consistently evaluate the risks, resources of the child and his or her family and their environment, and also the positive and negative consequences of the actions and decisions. And these should be discussed with the child and their caregivers when taking decisions. The least harmful course of action is the preferred one. Principle number 3, non-discrimination. This principle means ensuring that children are not discriminated against or treated poorly or denied services because of their individual characteristics or groups they belong to, or because of their gender, age, socio-economic background, race, religion, ethnicity, disability, sexual orientation, or gender identity. Principle number 4, adhere to ethical standards. Agencies and staff working with children, professional ethical standards and practices should be developed and applied. These may be professional codes of conduct and child protection policies. National laws and policies may exist in addition to international norms and standards to protect children that are relevant and have to be respected. Principle number 5, confidentiality. This means respect confidentiality. Confidentiality is linked to sharing information on a need-to-know basis. The term need to know describes the limiting of information that is considered sensitive. This means sharing information only with those individuals who require the information in order to protect the child. Any sensitive and identifying information collected on children should only be shared on a need-to-know basis with as few individuals as possible. Respecting confidentiality requires service providers to protect information gathered about clients and to ensure that it is accessible only with a client explicit permission, or agencies and caseworkers involved in the case management. It means collecting, keeping, sharing, and storing information on individual cases in a safe way and according to agreed upon data protection policies. Caseworkers should not reveal children's names or any identifying information to anyone not directly involved in the care of the child. This means taking special care in securing case files and documents and avoiding information or informal conversation with colleagues who may be naturally curious and interested in the work. Principle number 6. Ensure accountability. Accountability refers to being held responsible for one's actions and for the results of those actions. Agencies and staff involved in case management are accountable to the child, the family, and the community. Principle number 7. Empower children and families to build upon their strengths. All children and their families possess resources and skills to help themselves and contribute positively towards finding solutions to their own problems. Caseworkers and supervisors must work to engage children and families to play an active role in the case management process. Principle number 8. Facilitate meaningful participation of children. Children have a right to express opinions about their experiences and to participate in decisions that affect their lives. Agencies and caseworkers are responsible for communicating with children and simplifying the right of participation, including the right not to answer questions that make them uncomfortable, and responsible to support them to get their rights throughout the case management process. Children participation helps to prevent a caseworker from coming to a decision that is in their best interest but against their wishes. Caseworkers should explain such decisions with care and empathy to the child involved. Principle number 9. Provide culturally appropriate processes and services. This means caseworkers and agencies should recognize and respect diversity in the communities where they work and be aware of individual, family, group, and community differences. This is important to be able to make an informed and holistic assessment of a child's situation. Cultural sensitivity also improves caseworkers' capacity to work properly with children, families, and communities, and to identify solutions to their problems. Principle number 10. Coordinate and collaborate. Child protection programs are more effective when agencies work together and involve communities, families, and children in their efforts. Case management can provide a process for improving coordination and collaboration among all actors with a mandate to protect children, including community leaders, government departments, service providers, etc. Principle number 11. Observe mandatory reporting laws and policies. Many countries have mandatory reporting requirements which oblige certain actors such as child protection agencies, staffs, teachers, nurses, doctors to report cases of child abuse to relevant government authorities. However, these requirements can be challenging for caseworkers when the information is of such a sensitive nature that it cannot be shared with other actors without placing the child at risk of further harm. Therefore, we have to observe mandatory reporting laws and policies. Now we came to the end of this video. Thank you.